Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm carrying on the sound design series by creating a synthesized string section, which can be used on its own or blended into many different styles of music. I'll start by quickly showing you all the settings you need to make the sound, and then afterwards we'll talk about customizing it and optimizing it to really fit your needs. So let's waste no time and just get right into it. As always, I'm using the free Vital synthesizer, so if you want to, you can use the link in the description and just download it and follow along. Let's just start with a sound demonstration. It tends to work well with sort of long sustained chords like this. So it's got this really sort of cinematic feel to it. But it can also be highly customized, so if I just hold a note in a lower register here, we can add an awful lot of grit to the sound and make it sort of like more electronic. So although it starts as a sort of classical strings patch, really it's quite a versatile instrument that you can use in a lot of different genres. One of the good things is if you have Vital, you actually have this preset. My string section, along with a few of my other presets, are bundled in the free version when you download it. So you already have this, but I just thought for everyone and for people who don't use Vital, this would be a brilliant patch to deconstruct. So let's just start with initializing the preset just here and starting from scratch. Let's leave the first oscillator on the default sawtooth wave. We're going to add 7 voices of unison, and I wanted to start at 7% detuning, something around that works. Take both of these to 0 just to avoid any clicks and pops, and then we're going to turn on filter 1. We'll leave it at analog 12 dB per octave, but if you have a 6 dB per octave, that'll probably work even better. I'm going to take the resonance all the way down and set this to about 450 Hz. We'll also increase the drive a little bit, which will add just a little bit of saturation to the sound. Now we're going to go to envelope 1, which is the amplitude envelope, so it's going to control the volume shape of the sound. I'll put all the important information on the screen, but we're going to set the attack to around 1.5 seconds. We're going to set the decay to somewhere around about 5 seconds, the sustain to about 0.7 or 70%, and finally we'll set the release to around 2 seconds. So this leaves us with a sound like this. The first thing we're going to do to make it more realistic is make it velocity sensitive, so you can just turn this up to 100, and this means that if you play softly, it will play just like that, and if you hit the keys a little bit harder, it will be louder. But we're also going to increase the voices. I just tend to set it to about 24, and that way I know that none of the keys or notes will be cutting each other off, because I can't really play that many all at the same time. And then we're going to use envelope 2 to gently open up the filter, because if you listen to strings players, the brightness changes at different parts of the bowing motion. It's not always got the same brightness. Sometimes it's a little bit darker, sometimes it's a little bit of a brighter sound. So we're going to try and emulate this globally by just making the filter open up ever so slightly, but it really does have to be subtle. But we're going to set the attack to about half a second or 0.6. Let's click on this little point here and make it a little bit more rounded off. Then we'll grab the decay, take it to about 4 or 5 seconds. And if it comes off the screen here, there's a little zoom here. So if you double left click, it will resize the window, or you can left click and drag and manually resize it. Then we're going to take the sustain this time all the way down to about 0.2 or 0.3, so 30% of the initial value. And finally, we'll make a very short release, maybe a tenth of a second, so 0.1, something like this. Now we're going to link envelope 2 to the filter cutoff down here. So when you hover over envelope 2 and see these 4 arrows, we're going to left click, and then we're going to drag it down onto this little white slider here. And then in this circle, we're going to reduce this range to about 15%. So let's take a listen. So it makes it a little bit more realistic, but we're not quite there yet. I might also pull that filter down, maybe closer to 400 Hz. The next thing I want to add is a vibrato effect, but we're not going to achieve this by changing the tuning of the entire synth. I want it to be a little bit more subtle than that. So I'm going to affect the unison detune amount using an LFO. So we'll use LFO 1 for now, leave it where it is. I'm going to change the frequency to seconds and make sure that it's at 1 second. Then I'm going to link this to the unison detune amount, and I'm going to pull the amount down to about 0.06. And if I just play a note, you'll see that the unison detuning is increasing and decreasing according to this LFO. So here, it starts at about 7, and then it probably goes up to maybe 10 or 11%, and then back down to 7 again. And this just detunes all the voices and then brings them back into tune again. And it sort of simulates lots of players doing a very subtle vibrato all at the same time. However, I don't want the vibrato to be constant the whole time. I'd like it to sometimes be slow, sometimes be a more fast vibrato. So I'm going to take the second LFO and this time create a bit of a ramp, and again change this to seconds, and I'll probably push it up to about 4 or 5 seconds, and then I'll use this ramp to control the speed of this LFO here so that it will be slow vibrato, and as it increases it will be a very fast vibrato, then back down to the start. So to make this connection, we're going to go to the matrix. Don't worry, I know this can look a little bit complicated. We're going to use LFO2 to control the LFO1, where are we? LFO1 frequency. The last thing to do is move this amount slider, I think to about 0.2 is where I set it. When I press a key, the vibrato will start slowly, and then this will start oscillating very quickly. And this just sort of simulates the players sometimes having a slow vibrato, sometimes fast, and it really sort of mushes up the sound and makes it sound a little bit more realistic. Let's go to the effects tab to make this sound more interesting. You don't have to do this inside Vital. If you have a DAW, I'd recommend using your favorite plugin effects, but the ones in Vital are pretty good. So I'm just going to start with a bit of a low cut to remove the sort of rumble at the lowest end. And I know that that's quite a sort of common technique. If you're doing a really sort of deep bass sound with this, you might want to preserve some of that low end, but for most of the stuff I want to play, I don't need too much of that low end. And then I take off just a little bit of the top end because it can sound a little bit fizzy and electronic. The next thing I'm going to do is probably add some reverb because that really sort of glues the sound together. I like putting quite a high mix value and also increasing the size of the reverb. I'll probably even push that a little bit further. Size, time. Time could be, you know, even 4 or 5 seconds if I wanted it to be. Yep, that sounds okay. I'm going to add a little delay here, and I like quarter note delays, and I'm just going to leave it in mono. I'm going to pull the feedback down, pull the mix all the way down, and this is again going to add more space to the sound. Nice. And a final touch is going to be some distortion, which you could put at the end of the chain or a little bit earlier if you want the distortion to be before the reverb, so that the reverb sort of carries that sound away. What I might do is just put it at the end for now, soft clipping, and I'm going to push the drive up a little bit, but take the mix down to maybe 20 or 30%. Something I did on the final preset and all the presets in my Vital Sound Bank is use the macros to control some of these effects. I might take the drive down and then link macro 1, let's just take it here, to the drive amount. And now as I push up this macro, you can see that it starts clipping more. Or maybe the reverb mix amount, I'll go to macro 2 and do this, and then as I push that up, it increases the mix amount. Where these become sort of more special is when you start using one macro to control multiple effects. And now as you open up this macro, it adjusts both the reverb and delay. And it also means you can control the effects from any tab. You don't need to dive into the effects chain and adjust them too closely. The next thing I want to do is a little bit of FM, which I initially added just as a unique sort of different feature to see if I could come up with a sound, and also to make the patch very, like I said, very unique so that it was definitely my own. But as it turns out, I sort of stumbled across a really nice sound that sort of blended all those saw waves together in a much more pleasant way. So what we're going to do is, again, 7 voices of unison. This time I will leave it on 10% detuning. We'll also make sure that it's going through filter 1 so that we're cutting off the top end of the sound as well. And then on this box here, we're going to choose FM from 1. And if I adjust this, you'll hear what it sounds like. So at high amounts it sounds very bad, but if I just take it down to about maybe 30-35%, that sounds quite synthetic. And then if I add this in, it changes the timbre of the sound, and I think takes it from sounding a bit like an electronic pad to something more like a string section or an orchestral instrument. And another crucial parameter to adjust is the envelope 1 attack time, because of course if you make this short, it's going to be immediate and sort of very powerful, whereas if you push this to say 2, 3 or 4 seconds, it's going to take much longer after pressing the keys for that sound to grow to its maximal value. So now that we've created this sound, I want to talk about why you'd want to use this instead of just using a sample library, which is specifically made to deliver string sounds and orchestral sounds. The first reason is that while this won't yield the most realistic sound using a synthesizer, it's much lighter on your computer. So this synth does not eat up a lot of your disk space, whereas a good sample library will be tens or even hundreds of gigabytes. Which is just going to sit there on your computer and use up a lot of space. While you're using it, this synth is not going to use almost any of your RAM, whereas a sample library is very hungry on your RAM. It needs a lot of space to load and hold all of those samples ready to be played. It does yield much more realistic results though, of course. The next reason is speed. Simply loading up this synth and the preset takes a few seconds, whereas I can't make any sample library load that fast. Even with a good solid state drive, the sample libraries still take a while to load. It takes longer to load and sort of recall your project, whereas with the synth you can just get some ideas down and keep moving forward. And finally, this synthesizer is completely free, and there's not many or any good sample libraries that are truly free. But also just approaching these problems on a synthesizer, how to create these realistic sounds, I think it's quite fun. It sort of forces you to use your brain in a different way. But of course, there are times when you just need a meticulously detailed sample instrument, and there's other times where a synthesizer can take you 95% of the way there. If you'd like to learn how to make more sounds like this, please do check out the other sound design videos on this channel. There's quite a lot of them. And if you'd like to get your hands on more of these sounds, please do check out my sound banks as well. Everything is in the description. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now. Hey Trixie, you're going to be on YouTube. You enjoy that, okay?